Unexpected demands by ECG workers that they be awarded a severance package before the company is taking over by one of the 5 companies in consortia which have expressed interest. Any such payment, Energy Minister Boakye Agyarko stated, would also be awarded only to workers who voluntarily decide to sever their relationship with ECG after the takeover. The workers have been agitating this week for the severance, even though government, following previous protests, agreed to include in the compact guarantees that the new entity would not lay off the workers. Mr. Agyarko explains the concerns about job security have been addressed and that no ECG worker would be unduly laid off for the 20-year life of the concession.
Initially, we also said that Ghanaian workers are entitled to some job stability and security. Therefore, we said in the first proposal that no Ghanaian worker in ECG was going to be laid off in the first 5 years. Workers expressed their concern, well, what happens to us after 5 years? Legitimate concern. So what we finally negotiated and ended up with was that for the 20 years that the concession is going to be in operation, no ECG worker could be laid off in that period. I think that is the surest guarantee of employment. But we have said that for the 20 years that the concession is in operation, the ECG workers who are now in the new company cannot be laid off.
However, maintain workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana who wish not to work with the new company would have the option to do so and will be paid their entitlements.
They were concerned about their benefits. What happens to their benefits that they accrued in ECG? And we introduced the term of the art called grandfathering. And I know a lot of people have tried to make mischief of grandfathering. It simply means this. All the benefits you have accrued, benefits and entitlements you have accrued under ECG will be transferred lock, stock, and barrel to the new company, intact, without the new company having the right to alter the benefits previously accrued. Then we were also confronted with the desire that ECG workers be paid a severance, leaving ECG, and then before they move on to the new company. As for that one, Adabraka, if you decide to leave ECG, then you will be paid your severance. But you should not have the expectation or guarantee that the new company will take you on. You have made a decision to sever your relations with ECG, and it should not put you in the faithful expectation that going forward you have a job with. So it is open. All the ECG workers who want to leave and not join the new company are at liberty to do so, and their severance so arranged. But it's not going to be a collective bargaining situation where all ECG workers, all 6,500 of them, are paid a severance and then transferred to NewCo. You are at liberty to transfer yourself to NewCo and carry with you all your benefits from ECG and continue accruing new benefits. Equally at liberty to say that I want to wash my hands off Electricity Company and go my merry way. So these are the issues.
The Public Utilities Workers Union, meanwhile, in the Central Region, Wednesday demonstrated at the premises of the Electricity Company of Ghana, calling on government to give them their severance package. The demonstration lasted for 1.5 hours, leaving customers stranded. Richard Kodunyanko was there and our reports.
The workers of the Public Utilities Workers Union, as they stated yesterday, are demonstrating, they are protesting. They want government to pay their severance packages to them, and they are appealing to government to intervene in this matter so that sanity would prevail. Today they've declared a 1-hour protest showing their concern for the privatization of ECG, and we're speaking with the chairman of the council of the Public Workers Utility Company, and he is in the person of Paul Enoch Hayes. So what is currently happening?
Yeah, what is currently happening is that the staff of ECG are doing just a 1 hour sit-down strike just to show their concern of the severance they are demanding from the government before the compact is implemented. And like we have said earlier on before, this whole thing is to inform the president we are not really happy with the way the sector minister is handling this whole concession implementation. And we are saying that it's high time the workers and then the staff of ECG, their stake is also being taken. And then their plea is also being listened to. We say by the Labour Act, we deserve a severance before a new company comes to take over. We have come up to say so many times, even though we are not happy about the concession, but since government is still bent on doing it, we are saying that what deserves the staffs and the workers, it should be given to them before the whole compact is implemented. That is all the little plight we are asking and demanding from the president. We know he can do that, and we want him to.
Elsewhere, workers of public transport and Metro Mass Transit Company on Wednesday staged a wild demonstration on the company's premises to protest what they describe as gross mismanagement, which has resulted in poor conditions of service for the staff. The agitated workers fired musketry as they chanted and punched the air and deflated the vehicle tires of some management personnel. Key amongst their demands is the removal of the managing director, who they vowed to stop from acquiring a 450,000 cedis four-wheel drive for its official use, because over 100 of the company buses needing repair had not been attended to. Maxwell Agogba was there and has come through with this report.
Currently here on the compound of the Metro Mass Transit, workers here are not working. They are taking part in a demonstration calling for the head of the managing director, Bernard Abuaji. Well, among some of the issues they are raising are salary disparities. They also say that the management has not been paying them, their allowance has not been due them. They also complain about their provident fund. What is happening here right now is that some of the workers are going around locking the offices of some of the top managing officers here on this compound. They are taking their car keys. Well, some of the cars here on this compound also have had their tires deflated. A lot of them are also firing musketry here on this compound. They are saying their managing director must go. Some of the aggrieved workers have gone around right now and they've taken some of the keys belonging to some of the management officials here on this compound. Well, you can see the union chairman here on this compound is actually taking the car key of the legal manager for MMT and is displaying it to the workers here.
They have disappointed us. Yes. They are in this house for so many years, but no improvement. MDs comes, MD go, but still they are there. And there's two problems there. Yeah, we don't put, as my brother said, we don't do politics here. We want the right thing to be done. So this old management, they are there to advise MD. If they are ready to help us, that this miss will not happen. As we are speaking, we haven't received our salary. Our drivers, conductors, they are sleeper around 10 cities. Somebody will drive from Accra to Dambai, Accra to Tokrano, Accra to Wa, Accra to Kachi. That person is supposed to give 10 cities for just for sleeper allowance. Now how much? What can 10 cities buy? But still they are not paying. 3 months now they are not paying. And then they have opportunity. We have money to go and buy V8.
Have they bought the V8 already?
They have done everything. They have done everything. And then 4.5 billion, we are going to pay it within 4 months. As we are speaking, go to the workshop and see. We don't have filters, we don't have oil, so we are not able to do maintenance. We are not able to do maintenance. Look at our local suppliers, we own them a lot. Our local suppliers, we own them a lot. We are not able to pay. Today is 26th or 27th. Our side, we don't know when to get it.
Up to Tamale to Accra here. I drove up to daybreak. 10 cities, even your child, how much 10 cities your child? It's not enough. So they should look for the work inside. They wanted to call up the work, which will understand. That's our topic. We are praying the government it should put the hand inside the Metro Mass work and the work go up. We don't want they to spoil this government.
Well, the board of the company has since met with the union workers. Now, after that meeting, Ahmed Atta, the board chairman, has been speaking with Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba.
It's obvious that they've been misinformed. And the main issue upon which they are demonstrating, there's no evidence to support it. We have met with the union leaders. We have discussed the issues at hand, and the issues that they brought on board, we've been able to explain it to them. And so there's no cause for worry.
But are you able to give us those explanations? Because they say that the board has actually approved for a 2017 V8 to be bought. They're saying that you've actually approved for a 2017 V8 to be bought for the managing director.
Don't misinform.
I'm saying that the workers are saying, not you. I'm saying the workers are saying, not you.
We have not approved the purchase of any V8 now. We haven't. And we haven't bought the letter they brought. They claimed that we have bought, they made a categorical statement that we have bought a V8 for the MD. And we have proven to them that we have not bought any V8 for the MD. He's using his own private car.
But you made some concessions that you've had some discussions about the purchase of the V8.
The MD doesn't have a car, and so there's the need for us to get him a car. But we have shelved that particular purchase because the company is not in a good position to buy a car for the MD. So for the meantime, he's using his private car in place, and I believe that probably by December, we can get in some buses. And so when the buses come into, it takes some time to get them prepared and route them. And so we are looking at the buses working from January. And the fact that buses have come in and they've started work doesn't mean the fortunes of the company has changed. It will take a process to change the fortunes of the company. No.
They made some talks about their sleeper allowances. They talked about their holiday allowances, which are all in arrears. They say you've not made payments in that regard. The last straw that broke the camel's back is this car issue. So what are you saying about the other allowances that they say are in arrears?
It's because the company doesn't have money. And so, of course, we owe a few statutory payments that we are supposed to make. And their sleeper allowance, it is true, it is in arrears, but this is the first time it is even coming to my attention. And so we'll make sure that very soon we address that.
How soon is it going to be?
Management will be meeting on Monday. So when we meet, it will be one of the issues that we will discuss to ensure that, because those who are working for the company, they are the engine of the company.
The board chairman, who also doubles as a member of parliament for Kakwe South, has discounted lots of the claims made by these workers. But it looks like they are not really excited about some of the pronouncements made by the board chairman. They're not excited by the outcome of this particular meeting. They are vowing to continue protesting until their demands are met. For Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin, it is now official that Ghana gained a total of 80 square kilometers of territory in last Saturday's ruling in its maritime boundary dispute with its neighbor, Côte d'Ivoire. And then the new Accra Region Police Commander is vowing to root out land guards and armed robbers, promising to remain incorruptible.
This pocket. If you put me in your breast pocket, you might have breast cancer. You put me in your back pocket, you might not be able to sit down.
Government is assuring it will be ready to address challenges a free SHS policy may present to tertiary institutions. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the launch of its Ghana Social Development Outlook for 2016 underscored the need to expand facilities at tertiary institutions due to the large number of student intake at senior high schools. Minister for Planning, Professor Jan Bafo, who was at the event, said government won't hesitate to expand existing facilities. There's more in the following report by Joseph Akable.
The launched Outlook report is the third of its kind. It seeks to examine the state of different aspects of development from energy through education to health. The report recommends that government pays attention to other sources of energy as a way of ensuring stability while calling for reforms under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Addressing the gathering, Director of ASEP Professor Felix Asante argued the free SHS program will certainly have an impact on tertiary institutions.
What will happen in next 3 years when the first batch of SHS are ready to enter the university? And the question is, do we have the capacity to admit everyone who passes? Because currently we are not even able to admit everybody who passes.
In response, Minister for Planning, Professor George Jan Bafo, who also chaired the occasion, said government was ready to confront these challenges.
And we have 3 years. The first batch out of this team will come in 3 years' time. So if it gets to 3 years' time and there is an overflow in the universities, then we will go ahead and try to expand the universities. But as of now, we are 3 years away, so I don't think it's the cart before the horse.
The issue of the duration of senior high school had in the past been a topical subject, with the two main political parties, the NPP and the NDC, taking opposing sides. Senior research fellow at ISET, Dr. Nana Ekuanyi-Doho, said the evidence shows the 4-year duration produced a much better performance.
The 4-year SHS program gives students more time to transition and to go through the curriculum before the terminal examination, which can take up a large part of the final year of school. His recommendation is that we have a year-long revision of the junior high school curriculum at the beginning of SHS for those who need it, and for those students who don't, perhaps have an accelerated 3-year certificate for them. And he also recommends improvements in school facilities and teaching resources and teacher incentives.
This raises questions of whether government may be considering reverting to the 4-year duration. Minister for Planning, Professor Jan Bafo, maintained that is not the focus for now.
What we're trying to do now is to make sure that 3 years, we use the 3 years effectively. Because in the past, what we realized was that 3 years was actually 2 years and a few months. So we'll make sure that these 3 years become almost 3 years. And I think the time lost, we have to make it up. That is the first thing that we're trying to do now.
It is the hope of ASET that proposals made in the Outlook report will assist government in the formulation of its policies.
Now, the Passport Office is banking on the successful rollout of the National ID system to significantly enhance its operations and stem the illegal acquisition of Ghanaian passports by foreigners. At a news conference in Accra on Wednesday, it also announced it will soon roll out the chip-embedded passports to further enhance the security of the travel document and make it a lot more difficult for it to be faked. Officials have meanwhile been celebrating what they say is a marked improvement in their processes, which makes the acquisition of a passport possible in 3 days. Yes, 3 days. Hannah Dami has more.
The Director of Passports, Emmanuel Enos, was quite confident about the improvements which have made it possible for the travel document to be available to online applicants in 3 days. He says they currently churn out between 150 to 200 passports daily.
You apply online, and then less than 4 days, 3 days, you get the results. We operate from 8:30 in Accra Park, from 8:30 to 12:30. We attend to 200 people between 8:30 to 12:30, meaning every hour we attend to 50 applications. Now, they go on break from 12:30 to 1:30, and then from 1:30 to 3:30, they attend to 100 more people. So a day, almost about 300.
He says as many as 10,000 passports are currently awaiting their owners. On the phenomenon of foreigners legally acquiring Ghanaian passports, which has sullied its once enviable reputation, the Director of Passports outlined the measures to restore its dignity.
We believe that physically, if the person appears before you and you interrogate the person, it's better. You will be able to know whether this person is a Ghanaian or not. We all have to assist, because you see, it is all of us that front for these people. If a foreigner comes and you ask, upon interrogation, you ask that the person should produce the mother or the father, and you get Ghanaians, some people coming.
Though he did not give a date, he says the chip-embedded passports will be rolled out soon.
With the biometric passports that we are using now, the security features are enormous, even though it is not up to the standard of the e-passports where we want to get to.
The Passport Office, meanwhile, says online application centers will soon be replicated across the regions, with Tema expected to have its own center before the end of the year. For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odami.
Thank you very much for joining me on Business. Now, Deputy Energy Minister Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam says calls for government to remove taxes on petroleum products are in line with the NPP's agenda for the industry. He explains that government has already taken initial steps to reduce the burden on consumers by abolishing the petroleum excise levy and reducing the special petroleum tax to 15%, as announced by the Finance Minister during the 2017 budget. His comments come on the back of recent hikes in petroleum prices. He says government at the moment does not determine prices of petroleum products because of petroleum deregulation.
But the reality, as we see today, is that neither the government as an executive nor NPA as the regulator have responsibility for fixing petroleum product prices. They are determined by the market forces. Demand, supply, forex, depreciation, for instance, is a factor, and also international crude oil prices. They are all factors that determine the prices of petroleum products on the market. Now, what government has control over are the taxes. And I imagine people calling on government to withdraw the taxes or reduce the taxes so that the prices of petroleum products will also come down. And this is consistent with what the NPP government did since we came into government. We realized that product prices, even though global oil prices came down and through the deregulation, product prices also went down, we still found that to be relatively higher. And so we decided to do something about it. And so in our first budget, we abolished excise tax, which has been a long-standing tax on petroleum products. It took a bold government for the first time to abolish the excise tax on petroleum products. Not only this, we also reduced the special petroleum tax, which was imposed on petroleum product prices by the previous government in 2016. We reduced it from 17.5% to 15%. And so we recognize that we do not control the market and therefore prices, but we can do something about taxes. And these were the reasons why government decided to rather tackle the part which government had control over in the pricing of petroleum products. And so we have done already so much to bring the prices down, so that we all understand the context within which you see price increasing. And also to understand that government does not determine product prices any longer since price deregulation started last year. What we can do is to moderate the taxes. And this year we've already moderated the taxes by abolishing one tax, that is the excise tax, and by reducing the second tax, the special petroleum tax, from 17.5% to 15%. I believe that government is considering other factors.
Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam is the Deputy Minister of Petroleum. Now, the Ministry of Procurement is working with the Attorney General's office to prosecute government officials found guilty of corrupt procurement deals. Concerns have been raised in recent times about the level of corruption among state-owned enterprises when it comes to procurement of assets as well as subletting of some contracts. But the Minister for Procurement, Adwoa Safo, says her ministry is now working closely with the government's prosecutor's office to ensure that such corrupt cases don't go unpunished. She was speaking with Joy Business at the opening of the 5th Annual Procurement and Supply Chain Summit here in Accra.
So we are currently at the Accra International Conference Center where the 5th Annual Procurement and Supply Chain Summit is underway. Now, this particular summit this year is under the theme Effective Public Procurement as a Tool for Job Creation. So I'm joined by the Acting Director for Public Procurement and Supply in the Civil Service in the person of Mr. Isilfi to tell us how exactly this theme can be achieved. So the theme, effective public procurement as a tool for job creation. How exactly can we achieve this in the public service?
The belief is that if things are done right, following the laid down regulations as stated in the Public Procurement Law Act 663 of 2003 and the amended Public Procurement Law Act 914 of 2016, following all the laid down processes, we believe that one will be able to make sure the government procurement processes are more transparent, that we get relevant economic value from it, and then fair opportunities are given to all relevant and potential suppliers to partake in the government business. And the belief is that once that is done, it will go a long way to create job opportunities.
The 5th Annual Procurement and Supply Summit brought together professionals and stakeholders in the procurement and supply value chain to discuss the role of professionals in best practices in relation to procurement and supply in the public sector. Addressing the issue of corrupt procurement practices among state-owned enterprises, the Minister for Procurement, Adwoa Safo, said in future all such cases will be prosecuted.
If you look at the Public Procurement Act, Section 93, it talks about prosecuting and offences under procurement, that when you do certain acts and you are found culpable, we need to prosecute. Nothing like that has happened. Where it ought to be prosecuted, we need to take that step. And I think that we're in talks with the Attorney General, and she's working assiduously to see how the Auditor General's report doesn't only stay as a public document in our libraries, but indeed people who are found culpable for certain procurement offences actually face the rigors of the law.
Still on best practices in procurement and supply process, Country Manager for the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, Stella Aku-Adu, added that training procurement professionals will help in checking corrupt procurement practices.
There are a lot of scandals, and the scandals are not necessarily because of the procurement method that was used. The scandals have various faults. It's due to inappropriate people being in different positions and then, handling procurement, or people who are not qualified handling procurement. It's also due to collusion. It's also due to the fact that the procurement officers or professionals are not being given the leeway to take certain decisions, or some of the recommendations they make are not being approved at the higher levels. So it's quite a lot of things that are causing most of these scandals. And it's our hope that we'll train our professionals and make sure that they are ethically sound so that they'll be able to perform in the various roles that they find themselves in any institution.
Sheila Tamaklo reporting for Joy Business.
Now, government is collaborating with the United Nations Capital Development Fund, UNCDF, to explore best ways of accelerating moves to ensure a cashless society. This was made known at the launch of the executive document on the state of digital payments in Ghana. Deputy Finance Minister Charles Adu Boahen called on captains of industry to embrace this new policy of a cashless system. Here's more in this report.
All business transactions in the country are expected to be digitized within the coming months. That's according to the Deputy Finance Minister, Charles Adu Boahen, who has revealed plans by the Finance Ministry to liaise with development partners like the United Nations Capital Development Fund to fast-track government resolve to ensuring a cashless economy.
The development of a digital financial services system in Ghana has been premised on the following key objectives: to prevent and or contain risk in payment, clearing and settlement systems, to establish a robust oversight and regulatory regime for the payment and settlement systems, to bring efficiency to fiscal operations of the Ghana government, to deepen financial intermediation, to discourage the use of cash for transactions whilst encouraging the use of paper-based instruments for payments as part of the short-term development plan, to promote financial inclusion without risking the safety and soundness of the banking system, and to develop an integrated electronic payment infrastructure that will enhance interoperability of payments and securities infrastructure. Mr. Chairman, in 2014, the government of Ghana joined the Better Than Cash Alliance and committed itself to a program of transiting from cash to digital payments. For Ghana, the transition to electronic payments will bolster the effectiveness of fiscal operations through efficient receipts and payments and security of government transactions.
Meanwhile, a survey by the Better Than Cash Alliance, a global partnership of governments that accelerates the transition from cash to digital payment, has commended government for its resolve to ensure a cashless economy. Dr. Ruth Godwin-Groen is the managing director of Better Than Cash Alliance.
Change isn't easy, as we all know. It takes commitment because it's not going to happen overnight, as many of our members know. And so my message to you is to continue the great work that you've begun, as we've seen from this baseline study. You've got real momentum going at the government level, but also through these terrific group of people here who are all committed to building an inclusive digital financial ecosystem. So congratulations and keep up the great work. We're going to be working together today to see what actions need to be taken to continue that work. There will be continued rapid innovation in digital payments. It's not slowing down. We at the Better Than Cash Alliance have members globally, and we document the changes that are happening, as many of the case studies that you've read, and for example, the research that has been done today. Incredible changes that are not slowing down, because digital payments have the potential to create an inclusive economy.
Survey is urging governments to prioritize 4 key areas of business transactions in the country, which includes the payment of fees and fines to government, utility, retail sector, among others.
That's all we have for you by way of business tonight. Many thanks for watching. For more business news updates, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Emmanuel Apuaji. Have a good evening.
It is now official. Ghana last Saturday secured additional 80 square kilometers of territory in the Atlantic Ocean following the delimitation of its maritime boundary with Côte d'Ivoire by the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea. Energy Minister Boakye Jarko says a plotting of the coordinates by experts also revealed that none of the oil fields where exploration or production sanctioned by Ghana is ongoing was encumbered by the ruling. Addressing a news conference in Accra on a number of sector-related issues, the Energy Minister also justified the decision to sell off some thermal assets of the Volta River Authority. Matilda Avavaga was there for Joy News.
The Energy Minister explained that the ITLOS ruling was overall favorable to Ghana, even though it had to cede some of the maritime territory.
There are 2 intersection points. At the first intersects of 29 nautical miles, Ghana loses marginally about 19 square kilometers of space, territorial space, because the border is on to the left of our claim. Then between the 29 nautical miles and 196 nautical miles, Ghana makes a gain of 121 square kilometers because the new border is on the right of our original claim. In a nutshell, in total, the net gain made by Ghana is about 80 square kilometers of additional territorial space. Importantly, none of our oil fields in production is affected by the ruling.
Despite the favorable ruling, Mr. Jarko explained Ghana will continue to engage with Côte d'Ivoire on the joint exploration of their hydrocarbon reserves.
And after oil, Ghana must have sound and happy relationships with our relatives in La Côte d'Ivoire. And the only way this nexus can be connected is that with oil, we must continue to have good relations with La Côte d'Ivoire. So it shouldn't be, we have won, you have lost. Again, as we move further out into the sea to explore for more oil, it could well be that we will have oil fields straddling the new border. It will require the two of us to jointly exploit those resources.
On the agitations by the Senior Staff Association of the Volta River Authority over the decision to sell some of its thermal plants, the Energy Minister described it as a sensible way forward to improve efficiency and profitability. The workers argued that the proposed sale will result in, among other things, astronomical electricity bills and layoffs. But the minister assured the move is to safeguard the future of VRA.
So the separation is to improve efficiency and profitability. It's a conversation that started in 1997 and still dragging on. Whilst the financial viability of VRA keeps going down. Anybody can look at the balance sheet of VRA. And it's a sorry sight. It is not the happy company that VRA used to be when it was essentially a hydro company. So we need to take some of these hard decisions as the cabinet has done.
He, however, says he is open to discussions with the workers on the way forward. Matilda Pamaga for Joy News, Accra.
The Accra Region Police Commander DCOP George Alex Mensah has declared war on criminals, especially land guards. In an interview with Joy News during a courtesy call at Multimedia, DCOP Mensah pledged to ensure Accra is freer from crime than he met it.
The Accra Regional Police Commander DCOP George Alex Mensah believes the Accra region is a difficult area to manage crime. He is worried about the complex nature of crimes in Accra and how to handle it. DCOP Mensah says it is imperative for media houses not to exaggerate issues, especially those generated on social media.
It is out of your reportage that people get to know that things are happening. Sometimes it's blown out of proportion and the fear becomes so much so that the authorities try to shiver. Last Sunday, we all heard that Accra Mall has been besieged by, what do we call them? Terrorists. I said, wow, terrorists in Accra Mall. Fortunately for me, that very moment I was at the mall. So I received a call. Commander, I heard that Accra Mall has been besieged by terrorists. I said, which of the malls? He said, Accra Mall. I said, no, I'm here. I'm in Accra Mall. He said, but we've heard. I said, no, that's not true. Okay, let me walk through. So I walked through. I came back. I said, nothing is happening. But some media houses were blowing these and people were shifting. People were calling from as far as Tamale and others.
He's also worried the land guard situation is threatening the peace of many residents in Accra, and that, he says, will be one of the key areas of focus during his tenure.
The problem of land guard is now becoming a menace. It's becoming huge in Accra. Why? Because there are a lot of chiefs around. You go to a certain place and you have 5 chiefs. And each of the chiefs is selling land. And once you buy the land, they tell you, you build it. Just build it quickly. Otherwise, you start, then the next day somebody will come and break it. Some even come with arms. And when they come with arms as a civilian, unarmed civilian, there's nothing you can do. You have to leave your land for these rogues to take over the land.
Bribery is one of the key issues denting the image of the Ghana Police Force. DCOP George Alex Mensah assures the Inspector General of Police has already taken steps to reorient the service away from bribery. He is issuing a stern warning to criminals that he is not bribable and the war he has declared on crime will continue until he sees results.
I'm too hot to be in anybody's pocket. If you put me in your breast pocket, you might have breast cancer. You put me in your back pocket, you might not be able to sit down. G.A. Mensah is not bribable. As I said, we've declared war on armed robbers and land guards, and that war will continue. no matter what.
DCOP Mensah, who takes over from DCOP Osaberima Owari Asare Pinkro II, was accompanied by Regional Operations Commander, the Staff Officer, and other officers. They were later conducted round television and radio studios of the Multimedia Group Limited.
The RTI coalition is urging Ghanaians to add their voices to demands for the passage of the law. The bill has been to and from Parliament for the past 16 years, with promises by political leaders to ensure its passage unfulfilled. Greater Accra Regional Secretary of the Trade Union Congress and representative on the RTI coalition, Na Aile Adefio Sechere, says considering the journey so far, Ghanaians must intensify demands for the law and speak out loud enough to ensure the current government, which used it as a point to campaign, fulfilled its promise.
As of 30th of May, we were told the bill had gone back to the Attorney General's office, and as we speak, we've been told it's been moved to Cabinet. So really, that's what we know. We've been back and forth.
Exactly. So
we've protested, we've gone on demonstration. In fact, we have done everything. We're just telling everybody it's so difficult to have access. You know, if you need information, you can't get information.
Exactly.
But we're told differently. And so we're coming to say again and again. In fact, we have dealt with past governments, previous current governments, and we see there's no political will to pass the bill. There is going to be this forum which is going to collate the information, and people are going to give testimony of the difficulty to access information. That's what we're looking at, and we collate all this information and take it to them and tell them, really, it is difficult to access information. You have different views. More so, you have promised us, so walk the talk. Sometimes you are afraid to talk. There may be something happening on your job, and you're afraid to talk because you fear you may lose your job. You know, and that's not good enough. All of us have a right to speak up. And please, make this your baby. It's not just the coalition. And so far, it's the coalition that has been in the forefront of this, yes, but also back it up so that we can all have that bill passed into law. We've been fighting for this for over 16 years.
Over 16 years.
And it's too many years, you know, to have no action. Yeah.
The regional director for the World Food Programme, Abdul Dieng, has commended the Ghanaian government for its pro-poor policies targeted at improving the nutritional needs of Ghanaians. Mr. Dieng was in the northern region to assess some of the programs being implemented by the World Food Programme in the region. The World Food Programme is currently implementing the e-voucher initiative, where food is rationed for girls in schools as a form of motivation to keep them there. The program is targeting about 30,000 girls from schools in some selected regions in the country. The World Food Programme, as part of its program, is also implementing a project aimed at stopping stunting. Martina Bugri reports.
The girls must have attended school about 80% to qualify for a coupon to be able to receive the ration. This, Mr. Dieng said, is to motivate the girls to stay in school.
What we have seen here is how to help young girls not only to go to school but to remain in school. Because on the education also, what we have observed in Ghana, even which is one of the best in terms of attendance of school here in Africa, but there is still a long way to go, because even if the girls, they go to school, they don't stay too long. Their cycle is a bit short. And what we are doing here collectively is to give some incentive to these young girls so that they go to school and remain in school as long as possible. So the two activities are highly appreciated, and I'm glad, and I want to congratulate the government of Ghana.
Mr. Dieng, who later paid a courtesy call on the Northern Regional Minister, admonished government to ensure Ghana achieve the sustainable development goals it has signed to.
There is one which is a particular to us, which is handling capital. As I said, Ghana is on the right track, but still a way to go. And since Ghana has on those SDG, and I know that the leadership that the President of Ghana is playing today, not only on Ghana, but at the global level, to tell you how the SDGs are important. All the SDGs are important, but based on our mandate, I just want to reiterate that the SDG number 2 is important. And for that reason, we in WFP, we have developed a new strategic plan which covers the period 2018-2021. That is a global plan, and in each country where we work, we are developing a new country strategy.
The Northern Regional Minister Salif Hussain appealed to the World Food Programme to support the region build a West Africa buffer stock.
Mali is positioned to be the hub of the Sahelian country. That is what we are working towards. So we want to have a buffer stock. World Food Programme should help support and to have a West African warehouse buffer stock here. So we stockpile what you mop up to roll out your program, so that we can be supplying to Northern Region, Upper East, Upper West, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger.
Government has declared a red alert on all forms of illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing in Ghana's waters. Senior Minister Dr. Yao Osafo-Maafo says the action has become necessary as the fishing industry is nearing collapse. Addressing fisherfolk and researchers at a fishers conference here in Accra, the senior minister stressed the practice where fishermen brazenly defy laws on illicit fishing must stop. Joy News' Adelaide Arthur has more.
Light fishing and the use of dynamite and monofilament nets to harvest fish are common practices in Ghana's waters, even though it is against the law. Fishermen say they've had to adopt these illicit methods due to the decline in fish stocks. Ironically, researchers in the fisheries sector blame the depletion of the stock on the harmful practices. Senior Minister Yao Osafo-Maafo explains the red alert has become necessary to reverse the situation.
The galamsey of the land were destroying the rivers, were destroying the forest reserves, were destroying our virgin lands and everything, and our farms. Yours perhaps is worse. You are destroying the fish, you are destroying the future of industry, you are destroying all those who earn their living through processing, through fishing. You are destroying the source of our protein. Those of you who are doing it right should help us. It's not a question of being your brother or being your sister. It's a question of sustaining the industry. We can't allow this net to be used under any circumstance, and we should have the system to stamp it out. Let people be punished legally for using these nets.
Deputy Mission Director of USAID, Stephen E. Hendricks, believes responsible fishing practices are necessary to ensure that fish harvested is safe for consumption.
By developing responsible fishing practices, as well as reporting and preventing illegal fishing, together we can safeguard livelihoods and protect the declining fish stocks in the seas. This is where our partnership with the University of Cape Coast and the University of Rhode Island is striving to make a difference. Ensuring adequate nutrition among the most vulnerable households along the coastline can ensure the stability and prosperity of Ghana. Fish remains an extremely important protein in Ghana. It makes perhaps 60 or 70% of the animal food protein supply in the average Ghanaian's diet. We want to ensure that fish we consume is healthy, free from contamination, and good for consumption.
The Center for Coastal Management of the University of Cape Coast, which organized the conference, says they brought together stakeholders in the industry to deliberate on strategies that can help save the fisheries sector, which experts say is in crisis.
Revamping the stocks through sustainable management efforts, considering inputs and output controls, and other technical measures, including a closed season and enclosed areas, in collaboration with neighboring countries. Senior Minister, it is proposed, therefore, that government should consider collaborating with other coastal countries in the Gulf of Guinea to acquire a research vessel.
According to the senior minister, the legislative instrument that will allow the establishment of a coastal development authority has been submitted to Parliament for consideration. Establishment of the development authority is expected to boost the economy and create employment in the 4 coastal regions.
Relief has come for children and teachers of the Apenemedi District Assembly basic schools following construction of a new classroom block to replace the old dilapidated structure. Member of Parliament for the area, Isaac Kwame Asiama, handed over the 6-unit facility financed by the Ghana Education Trust Fund. Nana Senso-Mensah has more on this report.
Until construction of the new block, children had to endure deplorable teaching and learning environment. The roof of the building had been ripped off, exposing teachers and pupils to the scorching sun. Officials said they had to close abruptly each time it rained. Class 1 teacher Bernice Amankwa recounts the ordeal she went through with her colleagues.
We have problem about our building. We have the chairs are insufficient. So due to that, the teaching and lesson is not effective. So we help you people or the government to come to our aid. The roofing, as you can see, when it is rains, unless we pack our chairs to go and join another class, or we should wait till it finished rain before we come back to come and continue the lesson. And when the sun is hot, we have to close or go for break.
Headmaster Balfour Dabanka is excited by the new structure.
When I came here the first time, we had an old block which was dilapidated. Actually, the chairs and other equipment that we have in the room, we come out, whenever we come back, we come from our homes to school, we see that some of the chairs are broken. We can't keep our books in the classrooms so that it gets torn out always. So we know that as this new block have been built for us, actually it's going to help us in diverse ways. We're able to keep our furniture, the books will be intact, and the children also will be very happy in being in a classroom. And it's also going to help the teachers as well.
He appeals for the extension of electricity to the community to facilitate ICT training.
Electricity here, we find it very difficult to even use our computer, one computer that we have, even though it's not enough. But I find it very difficult to because we don't have electricity to power it. And the children too, in the evening, they find it difficult to do their homework and other things. They are even prepared to come to the school and learn in the evening, but because there is no electricity, it is very difficult. And actually, we are competing with other peoples in the city who get this electricity and have the chance to learn at home. So we are pleading and we are expecting the government to expedite action.
Mr. Siama, who is also Youth and Sports Minister, said the new facility offers opportunity for children in the catchment area to have basic education.
This classroom for the people of Apenemadi. We are all happy to have this very important school for this community. It will enhance teaching and learning. It will also inspire and motivate the people to put up their best so that they can pass the BEC well. So they can also enjoy from the president's Senior High School.
Nana Senso-Mensah reporting for Joy News.
Metal drums are major packaging and storage components in the oil and lubrication industry the world over. They provide protection for fuel and other industrial chemicals. When they are emptied, they find themselves in other auxiliary uses, including distillery, as well as water and cooking oil storage. They become heating apparatus for plantain roasters and barbecue makers before ending up as scrap. Fabricators at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology are now recycling metal drums into furniture. Lava Firm's Kwesi Debra reports.
Deep in the bush in the Ofinso municipality of the Ashanti region is this local distillery. Kojo Danso is a palm wine tapper and a distiller of local gin known as Apeteshi. For 16 years, he has relied on metal drums as the main apparatus in the production line. I buy it for 150 cedis. I wash the inside and fix the tubes. Kojo tells me sometimes the barrels blast from overheating. He's been using this particular barrel for 2 years. It's almost worn out and due for replacement. There's no point selling it to the scrap dealers. They buy it for 2 cedis, so I leave it here. Drums are commonly used for disposing of hazardous or dangerous or unwanted chemicals. Drum waste disposal has become a major headache for many developing countries, especially with limited recycling installations. Users abandon them recklessly with little or no attention to environmental pollution. Akwatia Line, Kumasi, is one of the hubs for scrap metals in the Ashanti region. Scrap dealer Hudu Muhammad fabricates barbecue stoves and pans out of metal barrels. The drum is very good for fabrication, and I've been working with it for a very long time. The Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is taking the use of waste metal drums a step further. The Department of Integrated Rural Art and Industry makes furniture out of them. Here is lecturer Dr. Kafui Kwesi.
The whole idea behind the steel barrel couch is to save our forests from massive deforestation, also make production of furniture easier for furniture makers, then also save energy regarding recycling of steel materials. And we manage to do it such that it can withstand the weather. It has a closing mechanism so that in case you have used it and the day is over, you can take off the foam, then close it.
The department is still researching into other potential uses for metal drums. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
And my name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night too.